The following announcement is paid for by Wheels of Fury. Like they would pay for anything.
Me and Matt Killer Kyle, and before we start this new edition of Look Back at You Series 2000, first off we will be talking about Bash at the Beach. I think I said Starcade.
Right, yeah.
Both are silly, but anyway.
Yeah.
We will be talking about Bash at the Beach.
Right.
I don't know how many of these we're going to get through this year alone, because we're 2 months away. Well, yeah, 2 months until the new year.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we're gonna do this, and then, the coming weeks we've got Turning Point, we've got Full Gear, we've got Survivor Series War Games, and then into December, I don't think there's much in December.
Yeah, so we'll probably get through most of all the other two.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bash at the Beach, that was quite interesting. So with that, me and Matt Killer Kyle, and we'll see you in a second.
Yeah.
Mr. Rovia.
Okay.
And also, we are your Wheels of Fury heavyweight champion.
Right.
Me and Matt here.
Killer Kyle.
You know what time it is.
Me and Matt's right through the night. Daniel's got the size. Wheels of fury on the ground. Engine roaring in the sound. Feel the power, let it rise. With the battle in our eyes. Wheels of fury rolling strong. Together we will carry on.
So, yep. This was the shits.
Well, can't really say the whole show was shit.
That is true.
The show, up until, well, I'm sure everybody knows by now what happened. It wasn't, watching this event. Aside from that, the show itself is actually pretty good. Chaotic, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
There were some things that you just kind of go, okay, what was that?
I just feel like this is proof that WCW, and I hate to quote Hogan, but this is why the company was in the damn shape it was.
You gotta realize though, bro. Okay, was WCW in financial trouble?
Yeah.
Yes. However, let's go from 1997, 96. Ted Turner was the owner of WCW.
Yes.
Not only were they putting on great shows, having great matches, they were doing fairly well financially.
Yeah.
Once Ted Turner decided he wanted nothing to do with the company anymore, for business reasons, I think, or whatever, that's when WCW started to struggle financially, and that's when WCW started to go into the shitter.
Yeah.
And this was like 98, 99 was alright. Those 2 years, they were still putting on good shows.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't too much of an indication that WCW was struggling financially. I would say about late 99 till basically the last Monday Night Raw of WCW in Panama City.
Yeah.
That's when you could really tell that WCW were going in the fucking shitter.
Pretty much. And I definitely agree. When you look at the early 90s, or hell, even the 80s, you can go, okay, WCW was awesome.
Yeah, like when you look at even before it was World Championship Wrestling, back when it was Jim Crockett Promotions.
Right.
You know, again, really good shows, weekly shows, and they had their pay-per-views and whatever. You look at the stars that were in WCW once Ted Turner took over. You know, you had your Booker T's, you had your Hulk Hogan's, you had your Jeff Jarrett's, you had your Norman Smiley's, you had your St. Douglas's, your Billy Kidman's, your your Hoovies, your Rey Mysterios, your so on and so forth. You go back to when it was Jim Crockett Promotions. You had the Road Warriors, you had Dustin Rhodes, you had Magnum TA, you had Ivan and Nikita Koloff, you had Tully Blanchard, you had, yes, the Four Horsemen, you had, I believe, Walker McDaniel wrestled in Jim Crockett Promotions. And, you know, I can keep going on and on and on. And you see, like, the thing that I really found interesting was when Ted Turner took over the company from, was it Jim Crockett Sr. or Jr.? I think it's Jim Crockett Jr. Because Jim Crockett Sr. had already passed away at this point. Jim Crockett Promotions was like I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was like $13 million or $13 billion. It was just some big number in debt, and that's why Ted Turner took it over.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Ted Turner had, of course, Turner Broadcasting System, Turner Network Television. At the time, was the owner of the Atlanta Braves baseball team, so he had the dough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he did. And I mean, that's the thing. When you look at somebody that can do that kind of stuff, and you look at, okay, so let's say Saturday Night Main Event.
Right.
WWF, you look at Dick Eversole.
Yeah.
Who can take WWF and make it more a TV product.
Yeah.
Rather than a wrestling product.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly when you go from Vince Senior's WWF,
Yeah, Triple WF.
the WWF that was all wrestling all the time, and then you go to the mid-80s, and then you're like, okay, now we're gonna go with sports entertainment. We're gonna have the fireworks, we're gonna have musicians, we're gonna have actors, the whole thing. And
not only that,
yeah.
when it was the Triple WF, it was still during the territory time. Eventually, it was solely based out of New York, and then, once Vince Jr. took over, then it became, they would still do shows in New York, then they'd go to Boston, they'd go to Philadelphia, they started, expanding outside of, just the New York area, and then it eventually, became World, at the time, Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And now you look at where it is now. It started in '63, and then, when it, based on New York, and, in the '70s, and then, eventually, his son took over, and then started to expand it to, the rest of the world, if you will, outside of just the New York area, and, it became this worldwide phenomenon.
Exactly.
And like to think The WWE, as I just know now, has been in business for 60. Because, and his point is, it's been going for such a long time. And, you know, it just all started as this little wrestling company, started in New York, and now has expanded to the globe.
Right.
And it's been literally everywhere.
Well, yeah. So there's your little history lesson.
Yeah!
Again.
Yeah.
Well, more.
More of the history lesson. Well,
Right.
that's just WWE.
So, we are doing a look back, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Look back at your series 2000, and we are going to start off with
2000s
Bash
Bash
at the Beach. Yeah, Daytona, and this was July 2nd, and yeah, you know what, the show wasn't all bad, but it was like, yeah, I honestly can tell that, I don't know if they were running out of ideas or what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of like, okay, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
And how are we gonna sabotage this match? I have no idea what the fuck they were thinking. But once again, it was, you have Kevin Nash that was in power, and then Vince Russo, and Eric Bischoff, and then you had Hogan. You didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, it really boggles my mind that if Jeff Jarrett.
Well, yeah.
If WCW would have actually made sense, then they would still be around. And so would ECW, for that matter, but ECW is a different story.
And see, the thing is, too, now, because Ted Turner decided to walk away from the company,
Yeah.
WCW is trying to find somebody to pick up the company and provide financially for it and whatever. But they couldn't really find anybody to, you know, be in charge of the company that seemingly was into wrestling, liked wrestling, whatever. I mean, there is a very short period of time where AOL was like in charge of WCW, like providing financially for WCW, but that didn't last very long, and then it ended up going out of business.
Anyways, here we go.
We've yammered long enough, let's get on with things.
Start out the show, we have Lieutenant Loco, aka Chavo Guerrero. The Cruiserweight title's on the line, by the way.
Yes.
And he takes on the Juice, Juventud Guerrero.
See,
Yeah.
now, of course, Chavo Guerrero, Lieutenant Loco, was part of the Misfits in Action. Hoovy, of course, was a member of the Filthy Animals. And something that I forgot about or didn't remember or whatever, I think it only lasted for a short period of time though. Yeah, Disco Inferno as part of the Filthy Animals. Because, like, I remember the Filthy Animals, but I only remember Hoovy, Ray Ray,
Yeah.
Conan. Billy Kidman was a member of the Filthy Animals too, but yeah, you had Disco Inferno in there as well.
Right. The Gringos.
Yeah.
It's funny watching Ray as a heel. You could see shades of the future with his son. Because, I mean, obviously, where he's a smaller version of Dominic,
Yeah.
but still looks very similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was an alright match. I mean, Hoovy, obviously, as arrogant as he was, very, very athletic.
Oh, yeah. Like, Hoovy, no doubt about it, was a very, very good wrestler. Then again, so was Trouble.
Yeah.
And, like, these guys did put on a hell of a match. And, yeah, you had, you know, Misfits in action and Filthy Animals kicked out of ringside. And, of course, then the other tried to, you know, disguise themselves to, you know, get involved in the match and, you know, try to help their man win and whatnot.
Yeah, poor Conan can't put on a costume without being noticed.
Yeah, really. I mean, he's got his arm, it looks like a cast. Although I said this to Matt, you know, at the beginning of the, well, you know, you got the Filthy Animals coming out, and they get in the ring, and, you know, Conan's on the microphone, and he's doing his whole shtick. You know, he's talking on the mic, and he's moving his arm up and down, and it's like this motion? Yeah, you'd be able to do that, but like, he was like, almost fully extending his arm in this thing. It's like, no, if your arm's legitimately broken, you're not moving your arm, you know, you're at the elbow. At the shoulder? Yes, at the elbow, no. And like, sometimes I've seen like, your arm would be in a cast and then there'd be like a bar go from like the bottom of your elbow to like your hip to keep your arm in place. But yeah, it's like, okay, that's kind of a giveaway that his arm maybe isn't injured.
Yeah. The thing about this era as well is you look at Chavo's Uncle Eddie.
Yes.
Not long before this did they go to WWF. You have
Radicals, yes.
You know, and I mean, how awesome was that? And I feel like, I mean, it wasn't long before Chavo would be going into the company, but yeah, that's kind of useless fact.
Yeah.
But anyways, and the thing about it too is that both these guys were like 29 years old. 28, 29.
28, 29, yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty cool. And I mean, just the fact that, yeah, they both were high flyers and both very entertaining.
Yes.
And yeah, but anyways, Chavo ended up winning, entertaining.
Yes. And we have a hardcore match between Big Vito, Norma Smiley, and Ralphus. Yes, the dude that was Chris Jericho's security guy back when he was still with her at WCW, and he was feuding with Goldberg or whatever. Jericho left WCW, went to WWF in 99?
Yes. August of 99.
And so it's like, well, what are we going to do with Ralphus? And it's like, oh, let's put him with Norma Smiley.
Yeah. Yeah, I obviously thought that Ralphus would have left after he managed Jericho, but I guess he was still employed with the company.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was an alright match. And Big Vito ended up retaining.
Yeah. They were fighting backstage and he stuck Norman in like a freight elevator.
Alright, yeah. But yeah, obviously Big Vito. Also the full-blooded Italians.
Yes.
And hell yeah. But this was a pretty cool match. Obviously the WCW hardcore title, I wish I would have watched WCW a lot more, as well as WWF, but from what I have seen for a few matches, it was still pretty cool.
Yeah, it was, like I said, WCW in its time, forget about, what happened with WCW and it going out of business and the financial stuff. And, like, you forget about everything from, like, 2001, 2000. Like, you forget about the last, like, 4 years of WCW, if you will. Maybe 5 years, like 97 to 2001. And you go from, like, maybe early, like 96, like early 97 maybe. And prior, WCW was so damn good.
Yeah. I mean, looking at it now, obviously, yeah. I can say that. I missed out on a lot, but, it is what it is.
Yeah. And, like, you were saying to me that you were a diehard WWE, WWF fan, which makes sense, and I'm sure there was a lot of people that were. And you were like, I wish I would have gotten more into WCW or New Japan or AAA, CMLL.
Yeah.
I think at that time period, like, okay, 2000, this was just before the beginning of Ring of Honor and TNA and what have you. So, like, I'm sure everybody was, on board with WCW and WWF.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, probably as the years went on with WCW, people were probably like, man, I don't want to watch this fucking shit anymore, and maybe started watching WWF. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. When I was little, obviously I knew Sting, I knew Mick Foley as Cactus Jack,
Right.
Dick Van Vader.
Yes.
When British Bulldog went to WCW, wrestling match with Dick Van Vader.
Right.
Basically, I watched WCW only to see guys that just came there from WWF.
Right, yeah.
But knowing that they had some epic moments as well, it was like, yeah, I wish I would have been more invested in WCW, but, it is what it is. I feel like, yeah, just like WWE is now, WCW was really hurting, unfortunately, around this time.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Got any weed?
Nope.
So we have an evening gown wedding gown
Wedding
match.
gown
Doesn't really
match.
fucking matter.
Yeah.
We have Daphne versus Stacy Keibler or Miss Hancock. So, yeah.
This was weird, chaotic, out of control, made no sense.
Yeah, this was major match.
And then, of course, it ended in the weirdest way possible.
Yep. I mean, David Flair was out. You got Daphne out on the outside. Of course, there's cake everywhere.
Oh, yeah. They had a table set up with a big old wedding cake. And I think I seen they had, champagne glasses and, maybe red solo cups or something. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And, yeah, this was just...
Yeah, I can't remember the dude's name, but he came out to the rescue to help Daphne.
Crowbar.
Yep. Yeah. And Stacy Keibler, whether she knew that this was the shits or she was just being stupid. I mean, when you're 20 years old, you're stupid anyways, but she decided to do a little dance for everybody and ripped off her wedding gown and lost the match.
Well, she didn't really take the whole thing off. She just took off the fucking skirt of it. Okay, match is over. She loses.
Yeah. Pretty much.
At least Stacy Keibler, when she got to WWE, well, it was actually still WWF at that point, she was able to do much more.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, I mean, her and Tori Wilson, even though not really good wrestlers, they still had a shot.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this match itself was more or less a cat fight than anything,
Yeah.
you know? And, I mean, poor Daphne. I think Stephanie was one of those wrestlers that you don't know the person's situation.
Yeah.
You fucking... I don't know what to say, but she was picked on quite a bit, and unfortunately things happened the way they did, and
Yeah.
but yeah, this was unfortunately dog shit.
Yeah. And like, okay, Stacy Keibler was, still in the beginning stages of her career
Yep.
at this point, so you can't really blame her. But I mean, like, you look at the caliber of talent that Daphne was,
Yes.
fucking feel sorry for her.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. You know, whether or not you're going through shit, like, don't fucking pick on somebody.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But anyways, it happened, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Stacy got inducted into the Hall of Fame recently.
Yes.
WWE.
Yes.
Then by all accounts, you know, apparently she's down to earth. So that's cool. I wish she'd come back to the ring.
Yeah.
But she's doing her own thing, and she's acting, and whatever else.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and David, not quite sure.
Yeah, not sure what Dave's up to nowadays. Dave's up to nowadays.
Crowbar appeared on Wrestling with Regret. Once again, subscribe to his channel. This is possibly the reason that influenced me to do something like this.
Right.
So,
On to this match for the WCW World Tag Team Championships. Chronic, the team of Brian Adams and Brad Clark, formerly Adam Bomb and Crush, took on team of the Perfect Event, Sean Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo.
yes. Yeah, 3 skyscrapers. Actually, well, Sean was pretty...
Sean was fairly big dude himself.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting talking about this show and got Chuck teamed up with Sean Stasiak here. It was a little while ago we were talking about Invasion, and Chuck Palumbo was involved in a tag match, and his partner was John O'Hare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was obviously a very good match, too.
Oh yeah. Just 4 big dudes beat the hell out of each other.
I mean, Chuck should still be wrestling. And maybe he is. I don't know where, though. Like, that's just it. But that guy was money.
Oh yeah, Chuck was so damn good.
I mean, whether it was WCW doing a thing with Billy Gunn, which, you know...
That was WWF, not WCW.
Foul!
Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. I didn't mention WWE. Anyways, Yeah, he did a lot of cool stuff in WCW as well as WWE. Not quite sure what he did before,
Yeah.
but and then of course, yeah, Brian Clark and Brian Adams. I feel like, and I just thought about this while we were watching it. You look at, okay, the Demolition Crush, Kona Crush, DOA Crush,
Yeah.
and then of course Brian Adams. Now I don't know if he did anything else prior to that. And
I
then
don't think so.
had he kept his nose clean, I feel like he would still be, no pun intended, crushing it in the ring.
Yeah, you can say that.
But once again, it is what it is. Brian Clark is actually, yeah, Adam Bomb, you know?
Yep.
And then, of course, yeah. What he's done previous to that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but, like, I don't really know too much about him prior to being Adam Bomb.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he wrestled independently or, you know, I don't even know how he got into wrestling, honestly.
No, and I'm not sure what he's doing today,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely an underrated take team.
Yeah.
From what I understand. I mean, they had their shot in WWE for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then the Brothers of Destruction, which was an okay match, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, basically, your new WCW Take Team Champions, Brian and Brian.
Yeah. Chronic.
Chronic, yeah. And I'm actually wondering if they carried those titles, like, up until the invasion.
I think so.
So, I mean, again, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the Take Team Champions were at that time. Like, but, yeah. Chronic was definitely, in my opinion, one of the best take teams in WCW in the later part.
Oh, yeah.
Now we go on to this match. We've got Booker T. This is Hell Yeah, brother. Chris Canyon.
Yeah. Or as they were calling him here, Positively Canyon. He was wearing a wig and he had on a DDP t-shirt because at one point in time, him and Diamond Dallas Page were friends, and him and Diamond Dallas Page and Bam Bam Bigelow
Yes,
were a unit called the Jersey Triad.
that's
Because
right.
they were all from New Jersey. Bam Bam Bigelow was from Asbury Park. DDP was from Jersey City, I think. And Canyon was somewhere in New Jersey. Anyway.
Yeah. This was okay.
Yeah, it was a fairly good match.
I mean, I think Chris is also somebody who was an underrated wrestler.
Yeah, Canyon was really, really good.
I mean, you look at the guy, he was a WCW Take Team Champion. I'm not quite sure if he was a television champion.
Don't remember.
So, yeah, and then of course he did a lot of stuff with DDP,
Yeah.
Booker T, another guy that comes into WCW and, you know, teaming with his brother Stevie Ray
Yes.
and then coming into his own. And yeah, you can tell that that guy was money.
Booker T and Stevie Ray were a hell of a tag team. Of course, Harlem Heat. And then, you know, Booker T would later go solo and have a hell of a career. Solo, singles, if you will. Here's your question for you. See if you remember. What was the name of Harlem Heat before they were called Booker T and Stevie Ray?
Cain and Abel.
Cain and Cole, actually.
Cain and Cole.
When they first came into WCW, Booker T was Cain and Stevie Ray was Cole.
Well, that makes more sense.
And I'm not sure how long it lasted, but then I think it was, they went to Best Off or something like that, and they were like, we want to be called by our actual names. As, well, not really actual names. They wanted to go Booker T and Stevie Ray. And so they became Booker T, Stevie Ray, and you know, they were still Harlem Heat, but you know, just by different names.
Yeah.
And I say not really, because like Booker T is his real name. His name is Booker T Hoffman, whatever.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray's name is Flash Hoffman.
That's weird. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, I remember that was talked about the biography of Booker T.
Yeah, okay. But, I mean, this was a good match as well, obviously. We'll see Booker later on in the night.
Yes.
But Canyon ended up winning.
Yeah.
So now we have the WCW United States Championship. We've got Mike Awesome versus Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
And the hell's that?
Madeja?
Yeah. Deja was in his corner, yeah.
We don't really need to go too much into both Mike Awesome and Scott Steiner's careers. We've yammered on many times about these guys.
Yeah.
Like, this match was really good.
Mm-hmm.
The finish, though, was like, the fuck was that?
Yep.
You have Ernest Miller, the cat, as the commissioner
Yeah.
for WCW. I don't know how the fuck he ended up in charge. And him and Scott Steiner had a feud going. And Scott was trying to put up Mike in the Steiner Kleiner, and Miller was like, no you don't, no you don't, no no no, no no no. No. Scott tried it once, and then, you know, they kept fighting or whatever. Scott tried for it again. Miller was like, don't do it, don't do it, I'll strip you off the title. I was like, what the fuck? And Scott gave him the Italian salute, and put Awesome in the recliner anyways, and yeah. Basically.
Yeah. Waste of two good talents.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, once again, you know, Scott being one of the best heels in the company, you know. Also, not to mention, the best take teams in professional wrestling. And then, you know, Mike Awesome, somebody that did very well in ECW, then WCW, kind of WWF.
Yeah.
And unfortunately no longer with us.
Yes.
And they deserve fucking better than this.
Very much so. Especially Steiner, but like, yeah, Mike Awesome for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we go on to a graveyard match between Vampiro and the Demon.
Yep.
Now, of course, we've talked about the Demon before. He was a Gene Simmons knockoff.
Yep.
Now, they did say his, I don't know if it's his real name, I guess. Darren something or other. Anyways. And watching this match, it was like a combination of the Boneyard match.
Yep.
Between AJ Styles and Undertaker. The swamp fight between Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. What was it, 2019, 2018? Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. They're in this house.
Oh, yeah. On House of Horrors.
House of Horrors, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, the first to leave the graveyard and make it back to the ring and get the ring wins. And they're friggin' fighting all over the place. And there's a, well, at one point you see the Demon with Charles Robinson and Asia.
Yeah.
They're entering the graveyard area, and Charles has got a flashlight. The Demon turns to Asia and he goes, "You stay here." She was like, "No, I'm going with you." And then it's like, "Alright, fine. Charles, keep an eye on her, would you?" So they're walking along, trying to find Vampiro. They come across this taped off area. It was obviously like a graveyard. It was a grave dug. And there's a casket there, just laying on the ground. And it's like, oh, he's in the casket. And, you know, open it up. Nothing. It's just an empty casket. So they're walking along, and you kind of catch a glimpse of him, but not really until he actually makes a move. Vampiro was up in a tree, jumped out of the tree, tried to dive onto the Demon, and then they're fighting through the graveyard and beating each other up and, you know, whatever. Vampiro grabs Asia and he drags her away. Well, he threw the Demon to the grave area, grabs Asia, drags her away. You know, the Demon drags himself out of the hole, and he looks at Charles and he goes, "Where are they?" He's like, "They went that way." And then, you know, there goes Charles Robinson and the Demon. They're walking along, they're going the direction that Vampiro went with Asia, and there's Asia on the ground. She's like, "Oh, just rocking on back and forth and whatnot on the ground," and they see they're close to water. Well, Vampiro had gotten into the water, and he grabs the Demon, pulls him in the water, and they're fighting in the water, and then, you know, Vampiro comes out of the water, and he grabs Asia, and he drags her away, and, you know, Charles Robinson had grabbed the Demon and dragged him out of the water, and, you know, Dave's like, "Okay, they went this way," and so there goes Charles Robinson with the Demon. You know, they catch up to Asia and Vampiro, and they're fighting some more, and Charles Robinson and the Demon make it back to where the coffin is in the grave or whatever, and there's Asia just kind of still, you know, distraught or whatever on the ground, and Vampiro had climbed into the coffin, and he lifts up the lid, sprays the Demon in the face with whatever the fuck blood, I'll say, and he's like, "Join me!" And that's it all end or whatever, and Demon's like, "Never," and he takes this cinder block or part of a gravestone or whatever, smacks the Demon in the head with it, pushes him, sets him in the coffin, takes the whole thing, flips it into the grave. Then the Demon had come in with like a flaming torch or whatever. Vampiro takes that and throws it into the grave site, and I'm thinking, it would have been cool if they had, like, you know, put some, like, gasoline or something in the hole, so that, like, when they threw it in, you know, the whole thing burst, and like, "Oh my god, the Demon was in the casket, in the hole, in the grave, now it's on fire, oh my god." You know, whatever. Then Vampiro walks off, but they're like, "We don't know how far away this graveyard is. It could be miles away, could be 300 feet, 300 meters, whatever the fuck. And it's like, well, from the time this happens to the time you see Vampiro make his way into the arena, was it good? Probably 20 minutes.
Yeah, like he comes out and he's cutting a promo, and then the lights go out, and you can see these druids coming out. They got Sting masks on, and they're carrying this casket, but it seemed lower to the ground. So, anyways, they put the casket down. Vampiro fights off the druids, and the casket opens. And it's Sting! And he comes out, and him and Vampiro go at it. I think the lights go on again.
Oh, yeah, you see this Sting climb out of the casket. He whacks Vampiro twice with a baseball bat. And then you see the lights go out. Lights get back on. There's still the druid standing there with baseball bats pointing. And there you see Vampiro in the coffin, half open, unconscious. Well, unconscious, but yeah. And then, of course, they're talking about the Vampiro and Sting were having a match. They ended up on top of on like a scaffold, I think it was, or something. And Vampiro lights Sting on fire and then throws him off the thing and what have you.
There it is.
This match was actually pretty good.
Well, that is true as well. I mean, I like the psychology of it.
Yeah.
I think that Vampiro had been, at the time, one of the best spooky, wookie, like, wrestlers of his time.
Yeah.
Even his time in TNA.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, he's still doing independent stuff. Actually, wasn't he in Lucha Underground?
Yes.
So.
He was doing commentary.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, him and Matt Striker.
But. Then we go on to this match. We've got the franchise, Shane Douglas versus Puff the Stuff Bagwell.
Puff Daddy Bagwell.
Yeah.
And, yeah. This basically all came about because they were tag team partners, and then they had a falling out. Buff ended up suspended for like 30 days because of like poor conduct for whatever reason, and then they end up feuding with each other and whatever.
Yep.
This match was alright.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, they're both talented, obviously. I feel like Shane, wherever he went, like WCW, WCW, WWF, well, he was in AEW, wasn't he?
No.
No.
You know, TNA, of course.
Yeah, TNA, yeah. But, yeah, this was alright. I think this was the match where Tori Wilson came out.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Tori comes out. She gets on the ring apron, slaps the piss out of Douglas, and then, you know, the Buff and Shane are still still fighting each other, and then Tori's, you know, on the apron seemingly aligned herself with Buff, and, you know, cheering him on or whatever. Shane's on the outside, you know, Tori gets in the ring, they're smooching it up, and then I think she went Dick Kick City bitch on his ass. And, you know, Shane Douglas ends up getting the win in the match. I mean, they went back and forth for a little bit more, and then it's like, one of the commentators goes, well, it looks like Shane Douglas has found his new cheerleader.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was a good match. It wasn't great by any means, but
Yeah.
And of course, nowadays, both these guys have their own YouTube channel.
Yep.
So, check them out, subscribe. But yeah. Yeah.
fucking fan. So, it's supposed to be a match between Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. So, Jeff's music starts playing. He's like, okay, music playing, waiting for him to make his entrance, waiting. Eventually you see Vince Russo come out. He's wearing a San Francisco Giants jersey, and he's got a baseball bat or something. The fuck is Russo doing coming out? Then, you know, Jeff Jarrett comes out and okay, Jeff's finally making his way out of the, out. He gets in the ring, Russo's in the ring, whatever. Of course, you got Michael Buffer making the announcement. That was a common thing that WCW did. For, like, main events, for events, have Michael Buffer do the announcing. You know, I mean, it's like, okay, whatever. Hogan makes his entrance, gets an introduction, gets in the ring. Hogan grabs the mic and he goes, well, Jeff, you're the chosen one. I chose you to powerbomb your ass in the middle of this fucking ring and take the title off you, whatever. So, Jeff's standing up on the fucking stage and he makes his way down to the ring. He's hesitant to get in the ring, finally gets in the ring. Bell sounds, Jeff lays down. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You see Russo with the championship, jumps up on the apron, he's talking to Hogan. He, jumps down, gets back up. He's holding up the World Heavyweight title. And then, gets up on the apron again, says something else, throws the title into the ring to, at Hogan's feet, walks off. Hogan, wants a mic, he gets on the mic and he's like, really? This? It's because of bullshit like this is why this company's in this fucking shape that it's in. Places his foot on Jarrett's chest, referee counts to 3. Jeff immediately rolls out of the ring and just walks off. And, you can visibly see Hogan's pissed. And, the commentator's like, what the fuck was that? What the hell just happened? This wasn't talked about in the production meeting. This isn't in our format in the script, if you will. But it's like, what in the hell just fucking happened? And then, of course, you have Russo come out, and it's, he cuts this promo, and he's like, I left here 3 weeks ago, and I wasn't sure if I was going to come back. But I came back for, he's naming off a bunch of people. And, I came back for them, and, to save them from that politician, Hulk Hogan, and I was trying to politic with Hogan for the whole entire day, because he was trying to use his creative control card and beat Jeff for the title, and that was bullshit, and you're never going to see that son of a bitch again. And then he announces for a new match for a new world title, or new world champion, which we'll get to in a minute. But like, this was really when you got a good understanding of just how fucking rough a shape WCW was in at this point. Like, there were some things that, like I said before, questionable, and it was just like, that's different, that's out of the ordinary, that's, whatever. Really, it wasn't anything too bad. This was like, okay, WCW's gone down the fucking shitter. And there's no fucking recovery. And of course, like I mentioned, WCW ended up going out of business a year later. But yeah, this was just... And for a guy like fucking Jeff Jarrett, who's been in and around the business his whole fucking life, to just fucking lay down like that? Man, if I was Hogan, I would have left that ring found out where the fuck Russo went and beat the piss out of his ass. And probably Jarrett too. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're better than that. You've been in this business your whole entire life. Your father was a promoter. And you pulled this shit? Really? Like, what the fuck? Like, okay, yeah, Hogan had creative control. How he uses creative control, who the fuck knows? We probably won't know. We'll never know. But, like, for that bullshit to happen, no wonder WCW fucking folded. Like, Jesus Christ. Never mind that financial problems that WCW was having. But, like, to pull bullshit like that on fucking a pay-per-view in front of not only a live audience, but however many people were watching in their homes, is like, that's a fucking travesty. God damn. Ridiculousness.
Yeah, like I really should have watched or tried to find the episode of Dark Side of the Ring where they talk about this. Just to... because I wanted to know what the fuck was happening. Because it felt to me like, yes, obviously I would say it's Hogan, but at the time I feel like, no, I'm not going to blame Terry, because the fact of the matter is you had Vince Russo, and yes, Jeff Jarrett, and also, so who knows what the fuck happened? I just know that there was a lot of bad blood afterwards. And I mean, yeah, you didn't see Hogan again in WCW. In fact, you didn't see Hogan until No Way Out 2002.
Yeah.
When he joined Scott. Stay tuned for that one. And Kevin.
Right.
And Jeff Jarrett obviously made TNA down the road.
Yes.
Which obviously Vince came in afterwards, but don't matter.
Yeah.
I watched the interview with Maven when he was doing that whole, what you think of this wrestler? With Vince Russo. And
Yeah.
Vince, when they got to Hogan, oh yeah, bro, I think Hogan was a real sweetheart, bro. It wasn't his fault. It was WCW, bro. You fucking suck because he died! I don't believe in your heart of hearts that you even think that. You still think it was his fault. I don't understand why you let this happen. You were in charge. And yet, you allowed this fucking shit to happen. I don't understand the logic that you're a smart man, you think you know the business, yet you allowed this to happen. And Jarrett, yeah, Jeff had a hand in this too, obviously. Kyle's 100% right. But this should have never happened.
No, it shouldn't have.
And the fact that you allowed it to happen on pay-per-view. And if I were a fan of WCW during this time, you know what I would have fucking did? Like,
It was probably at that point, or around that point, people just didn't give a shit about WCW anymore.
right, yeah.
And they probably started watching WWF. Or other stuff.
It was bullshit like this. And I mean, WWF had a hand in it when they did the whole Billionaire Ted thing.
Well, yeah.
Back in 96, but still. This was fucking petty. There was no reason for it. It was stupid, it was bullshit, and it should have never happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is the contract, well, the winner, if Kevin Nash won, the contract of Scott Hall would still stand. But if Goldberg won, then the contract, Scott Hall would have been fired.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Oh, by the way, Goldberg was a heel at this point.
And I feel like that has to do with the way his streak ended. Goldberg faced Kevin Nash in a match for the world title. You know, Scott Hall coming in security, fucking teases Goldberg, jackknife, 1, 2, 3. And Kevin beats Goldberg, wins the world title. I think after that, Goldberg, you know, wasn't really all that thrilled with, you know, Scott and Kevin and kind of vendetta against them. I fucking would too. And I also feel like too, this was during one of the many times Scott was having his, well, deep into his problems.
Yeah, and I mean, that's basically why he wasn't on this program, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking shame because, once again, if this guy kept his nose clean, he would have been something. He would have still been relevant. He would still be wrestling today. Except he did what he did. He chose his life.
Yeah.
I don't really care how you're brought up. You can break the chain. But he was left off television, obviously, around this time.
Right.
This match was alright. I mean, Scott Steiner came out.
Yeah.
And yeah, you thought he was gonna be for Kevin. Yet he turned.
Yeah, and so he sided with Goldberg, and yeah.
Yeah, Goldberg does. Yeah, he did the spear.
Spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and anyway. So, there it was. And once again, last time you see Scott Hall until No Way Up 2002.
Yep.
And it's like,
I know.
come on, be fucking.
Second main event, I guess you can say, because the match with Goldberg and Nash was supposed to be the end of the show, but then there's the fucking travesty that happened with Hogan and Jarrett. So then, like I said, you know, Russo goes off on this rant about politics, and you know, Lefty Wisco wasn't sure if he was going to come back, came back, blah 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 blah, yada yada yada. Then he announces a match for the world title: Booker T versus Jeff Jarrett. You know, this was a pretty good match.
Yeah, like they wrestled a lot on the outside.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. And y'all almost out into the concession stand.
Yeah.
And sure they did that for the Goldberg Kevin Nash match. But wrestled each other, like almost to that. And yeah, this was cool. You obviously know what was gonna happen. And basically, yeah. The referee gets knocked out. And oh yeah, you had the book with the brick in it. Oh wait, that was a
That
different match.
was the match with Canyon and Booker T.
Yeah, we didn't mention that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the referee gets knocked out. Booker T ends up doing the bookend. He did the jackknife, or well, not the jackknife, the axe kick.
Yeah.
And another ref comes in. But yeah, I didn't see him at first.
Right.
But yeah, comes in, counts to 3, Booker T. The new WCW champion.
Yeah.
And this was what? This was his first title run?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this was his first. And they talked about, 14 years of hard work and dedication and whatever, finally getting an opportunity at the world title and wins the world title and whatnot. But yeah, there it is. That was the infamous night in history, if you will. Bash to the Beach 2000. 25 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, that's insane. I was fucking 16. I just turned 16 a month earlier than this.
Right.
And yeah, I think if I would have watched this, I would have fucking exploded.
Yeah. Yeah. You were 16, I was 11.
Yeah, it was just a really fucked up time, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, yeah, I would have given WCW a chance, but after watching this, it's like, I just don't get it. Like, where is this going?
Down the fucking center is where it was going.
And the thing that really kills me is that they weren't even trying to make their product better.
No.
Fuck you guys!
It was almost as if they knew that they were probably going to end up going out of business. So they were just like, fuck it, we'll make the best of what we got. And then, ride the fucker till the wheels fall off, basically.
ECW didn't even do this.
No. No, ECW tried everything they could to, stay in business and, not go bankrupt and whatnot. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
Like, ECW didn't sink this low.
No.
AWA never sunk this low.
No.
I'm not quite sure how Mid-South ended,
Yeah.
or WCCW,
Yeah.
but like, WCW is one of those things that, and you know what? If WWE doesn't get their head out of their ass right now, with TKO and all this other shit, they're about to follow the same pattern. If they haven't already. But, yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that eventually.
Right.
Well, this is another long one.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting it to go this long, but I think, our fucking ramblings and, yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Unfortunately, this was a bummer.
Yeah, sadly.
Next time we do this, though, we'll talk about No Way Out. We will talk about No Way Out in the next installment of the Look Back at Series 2000. And,
But in the meantime, and in between time,
yeah,
the next 3 weeks are going to be pretty busy for us.
pretty much, yeah.
Next Friday, we have Turning Point. The following Saturday, we have Full Gear, 22nd. That following Saturday after that, Saturday? Yeah, 29th, we have Survivor Series War Games in San Diego. This coming Wednesday is Blood and Guts.
Right on.
God, I don't know too much of the card. I know there's a men's and women's Blood and Guts match. The first ever women's Blood and Guts match.
Yeah.
There's going to be a match between 10 men or someone, I think. It's a no disqualification or something along those lines, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, next Thursday, we remember the late, great Eddie Guerrero on the 20-year anniversary of his passing.
Yeah, we should do a video about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But also, yeah, speaking of videos that we should do, John Cena's last match to Saturday night's main event
Right.
in Washington, D.C.
I
So, anyways, yeah. In the meantime and in between time, we will talk to you next time. I'm me, Matt. This is Killer Kyle. Get the fuck out of here.
deuces.